I've been studying Magic Kingdom's map of Piston Peak again, and I have to tell you, I think I found a few things we missed, several of which are going to change Tiana's Bayou Adventure, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, and Frontierland as we know it. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. You are watching Probably a Disney, and if you've been keeping up with the Magic Kingdom's Frontierland construction, or if you've even seen it for yourself in the parks lately, you know that Tom Sawyer Island is no more. It's largely been reduced to dirt and sand, offering us views that no one has seen since this park was first constructed, as well as new perspectives of the site where Cars Land is being built and how it's going to change the park that we know. But before I dig into those details, I would so appreciate if you would consider hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel, especially if you love Disney park news, analysis, and maybe a different take on the happenings of the most magical place on earth. It really helps out the channel, and I can honestly say it truly makes my day. But with that being said, let's get to the good stuff. Let's talk how Magic Kingdom's Piston Peak is going to change Tiana's Bayou Adventure, Big Thunder, and other corners of Frontierland. Now, the first change that I don't think we talk nearly enough about and is definitely a huge win for this park, regardless of how you feel about the removal of Tom Sawyer Island, is that this part of Frontierland is no longer going to be a cul-de-sac. Since Big Thunder opened at the Magic Kingdom in 1980, this classic coaster and then Splash Mountain, which is now Tiana's Bayou Adventure, were located on dead-end paths known for some pretty terrible bottlenecks and crowd control. But when Piston Peak is complete, the crowd flow, the currents of people and tourists is going to change dramatically because guests will now have multiple reasons to take this route other than those two blockbuster rides, as for the first time, this end of the land is going to be connected to Liberty Square and eventually Villains Land. So Big Thunder and Tiana's are no longer going to just be destinations. They're now going to be pit stops as well as a means to get from, say, Adventureland to Liberty Square. And since there's now an outlet for those crowds, all those bottlenecks, far less likely. But as for Tiana's Bayou Adventure specifically, one thing that I discovered when combing back through the concept art is this kind of gray looking mound right here. And well, yes, I saw it when Disney first unveiled this map. What I didn't realize then is that it seemingly sits right next to the space where Tiana's logs emerge after their drop and from under that bridge which separated the attraction from the rivers of America. So my question is, what is it? What is it supposed to be? It is not a geyser like what we see down by Big Thunder, and its shape looks very different from the snow-topped granite-like mountains down by Liberty Square. In fact, of all the natural formations on this map, it is the most jarring in comparison with the lush green scenery. So, are we supposed to think this is a salt dome or salt mine? Like the storyline of Tiana's Bayou Adventure? Is this to block sight lines around Tiana's to the cars racing around the track? I'm honestly not sure, and I think this is an element of this project to watch because I don't see right now how this would not infringe on the scenery surrounding Tiana's Bayou Adventure and possibly block certain views. And adding to some of the confusion, especially concerning the Tiana's Bayou Adventure bridge, is just how much water Imagineering has now integrated into this project. And that's not a bad thing, it's good, not only for those of us who want to maintain some of the Rivers of America flavor, but also for Tiana's as a whole, because it's going to make Piston Peak and Tiana's more cohesive, and as if the water from Tiana's continues right into Piston Peak. But it was assumed when this artwork debuted that the illusion of where the Bayou Adventure logs appear in turn and the bridge was going to be blended with this inclusion of water and water features. And I'm sure that's still the case. What else can you do apart from overhauling Tiana's again, which I don't see happening? But I think it's safe to say that when you compare what is to what this concept art is showing, changes are on the way. Piston Peak is going to make some changes to how we view Tiana's in that entire area in front of the attraction. Now, really quick, I need to give a little disclaimer. If you're thinking this map is not intended to be accurate, it is a stylized version of those classic national park maps, and it's intentionally animated, and it's called concept art for a reason. You are absolutely right. I do not disagree. However, the purpose of this map, as evidenced by even that compass in the left upper hand corner, is to show guests where things will be in relation to where they are. So regardless of exactly where this mount is going, what it is, and if or how it will affect the space and the bridge, I think we can all agree it's going to at least encroach on Tiana's Bayou Adventure and play a huge part in changing some of that scenery. But of course, we have other less confusing changes to discuss, and they are thankfully more cohesive and, dare I say, even improvements to the area. So when Disney changed its original concept art from this one to this one, amongst the water features they added was this mill, which looks a lot like Harper's Mill from Tom Sawyer Island, and even some of the architecture we see around Tiana's. And I love this because it's a potential callback to the island while also anchoring Tiana's Bayou Adventure and making that attraction more natural and seamless with the surrounding area, which I think it desperately needs. Moving on to Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, this one is very interesting since it's still currently closed for what Disney has been calling New Magic, aka that is a completely new track, an adjusted storyline focused on mine owner Barnabas T. Bullion, who resembles Imagineer Tony Baxter, the new Rainbow Cavern sequence where guests will encounter nature's revenge when riding through, and a potential new timeline for the attraction, which Imagineers may have tweaked to better integrate or connect Cars with Tiana's Bayou Adventure and Frontierland overall. I am definitely looking forward to the reopening of Big Thunder, which is confirmed to be opening in spring 2026, by the way. Not only because it's a great ride, but to see if it holds any more clues about Cars Land. But one I can already show you is a clear connection between this corner of the Cars Rally Race attraction and Big Thunder. Big Thunder was already home to geysers and the like, but the emphasis on the Rainbow Caverns, those bear a striking resemblance to these Yosemite-inspired paint pots and springs we're now seeing in the Piston Peak artwork. So Big Thunder's rock work, and I guess we can say its overall world building, appears to be extending beyond just that attraction and its location into literally another attraction. And overall, this is going to look probably more cohesive than Big Thunder used to look in clashing with the very green Missouri-inspired Tom Sawyer Island. And when riding Big Thunder in the years to come, and possibly unlike Tiana's, I think this is going to enhance the view from that coaster and maybe make it feel bigger and more expansive. And I think that is a huge plus. But another change along these lines is that not all of Big Thunder's previous area is likely to reopen when the ride reopens in the spring, if those areas reopen at all. Big Thunder used to be home to a fantastic viewing area called Nugget Way that sat on the rivers of America and offered some of the best shots of the wildest ride in the wilderness roaring by, along with water features and geysers. But not only is that area behind construction walls, but aerial footage courtesy of Bio Reconstruct on X shows that it doesn't appear to even be close to being finished or restored. While Disney is certainly capable of building that area back before the ride's spring opening, I'm seriously wondering if it's going to remain closed due to the views it may provide of the Cars land of construction. Or it may not even come back at all, since this space here is going to be part of the future path to Villains Land, as well as a thoroughfare to Liberty Square, which is going to make Big Thunder and Haunted Mansion neighboring attractions. So maybe all of those views, those effects and visuals from Nugget Way are what is being brought to the front of Big Thunder and into Piston Peak, since they're no longer possible in this space. Other more general changes to expect, not only for Big Thunder and Tiana's, but Frontierland overall, is that this Magic Kingdom land is going to be dominated by mountain ranges and elevation. We already know Piston Peak is going to be tall and even feature some snow. So between this new peak, the attraction's other peaks, as well as Tiana's and Big Thunder, we're getting a whole sampler of biomes and geology here. And I think there is amazing potential then for this area's nighttime lighting package. All of the water, all of the rocks, and the color we have here, it could really be stunning and a must-see when you're in the park at night. Also, we are gaining so much more movement and kinetic energy with the cars racing up and around those new peaks and all what appears to be that moving water. That, of course, is going to create noise, which I know a lot of fans are worried about. They don't want to hear car motors when walking through Frontierland of all places. And I don't blame them. I completely agree. But I am a little more optimistic about this than some others because I think all of the trees, because Disney is putting in a lot of trees to this project, and the rock work and now the water features are being strategically placed to help buffer noise levels. Finally, I want to point out how walking up and down Frontierland is going to change once Piston Peak is complete. We know this thoroughfare and even this boardwalk are staying. But once the cars area is finished, we're going to have so much more shade, not only from the trees, but from the rock work. We're also going to be able to see snow, as I mentioned, when walking from Liberty Square into Frontierland. And if we take that boardwalk, the structures and docks that are there right now aren't expected to be there in the future, offering even more uninhibited views. Now, to wrap things up, I do want to end with a mystery, and that is the purpose of the Liberty Belle Riverboat dock. When Disney unveiled both pieces of Cars Land artwork, fans, and myself included, were very puzzled by the fact the Riverboat dock is still there, even though the riverboat itself has been removed and is currently docked at a service marina. Recently, former Imagineer Jim Shull shared his theory, which is that this elaborate dock could be used as a transitional entrance to Piston Peak. But from the concept art we have, I just can't see that. Right now, I'm sticking with a theory that I've had from the beginning, and that is that this will become a photo spot or a character meet and greet area, especially since that snowy mountain and the waterfall are perfectly positioned in the background. But until we know more official information from Disney, I think this is going to continue to be a bit of a mystery when it comes to examining this project. And I am curious to know what you think, or if you have a completely different theory. But for now, at least, that is all I have on how Piston Peak is changing Tiana's Bayou Adventure, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, and the Greater Frontierland. And stay tuned once Disney drops that parks article all about the changes coming to Big Thunder for its opening, because I think we'll be able to mine, pun fully intended, all that info for some reveals about Cars Land. Again, if you enjoyed today's video and Disney Park news and analysis, please do hit that like button and subscribe and join the conversation. Leave a comment, share your theories, thoughts, and opinions. But regardless, thank you for taking the time to watch and to listen today, and I hope you have a magical day.